Welcome back to the Daily Poem here on the Close Reads Podcast Network. I'm David Kern. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, 2020. And I'm here with a special guest. Tell everyone who you are.
I'm Jeremiah Kern.
And how do we know each other?
Because I'm his son.
All right, so this is Jeremiah. He's my second-born son. And we're going to talk about a poem together today. This poem is by somebody named Bayard Taylor. He was an American poet who lived from 1825 to 1878. And the poem that we're going to read today is called A Night with a Wolf. It comes from a collection called the Folio Book of Children's Poetry, which was given to us by some listeners of some of our podcasts a year or so ago when Jeremiah's little sister Lydia was born. And we love this book of poetry. And this is a poem that Jeremiah helped choose out. So it's called A Night with a Wolf by Bayard Taylor. I'm going to read it once, and then we're going to talk about it very briefly, and then we'll let Jeremiah read it to close out the show today. This is how it goes. High up on the lonely mountains, where the wild men watched and waited, wolves in the forest and bears in the bush, and I on my path belated. The rain and the night together came down, and the wind came after, bending the props of the pine tree roof and snapping many a rafter. I crept along in the darkness, stunned and bruised and blinded, crept to a fir with thick-set boughs and a sheltering rock behind it. There from the blowing and raining, crouching I sought to hide me. Something rustled. Two green eyes shone, and a wolf lay down beside me. His wet fur pressed against me, each of us warmed the other. Each of us felt in the stormy dark that beast and man were brother. And when the falling forest no longer crashed in warning, each of us went from our hiding place, forth in the wild, wet morning. All right, Jeremiah, before you read it again for us, tell us why you like this poem. I'm going to put the book over on your lap there. What about this poem did you like?
Yeah, what I liked about this poem is when the rain and the night together came down. It feels like it was like comfy.
Oh, really comfortable, huh? Like cozy?
Yeah, like cozy.
You like storms? You like to be inside during a storm?
Yeah. Like getting put to bed, put your pajamas back on, start reading. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the rain came down and the wind came after, but is the storm... I mean, it says that the props of the pine tree roof that the wind snapped many a rafter. That doesn't sound very cozy, does it?
Yeah, no. What if I was sleeping in a tree? That wouldn't sound very cozy. I would just fall off.
If you were sleeping in a tree, that's right. So then the boy and the character, he creeps out in the darkness, stunned and bruised and blinded. So he goes on this little adventure and encounters the wolf. Does he seem scared of the wolf?
No.
What do you think of that?
He's smiling in the picture.
That's true. That's true. The wolf looks like it's smiling too.
It's howling at the moon. Yeah.
Yeah. So does the wet fur pressed against him? Why do you think the boy is not scared of the wolf?
Because it was being nice to him.
How?
Like, all it was is just staring at him and not biting him or chasing him or something.
Oh, yeah. So the wolf showed that it was a friend?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like your dog, Harper. If Harper just laid down next to you during a storm.
Yeah, that's what she always does.
That's kind of interesting, right? That there's a storm.
But she can't climb in the bunk bed.
It's true. She can't get on the top bunk. Poor Harper.
Yeah, so I just go on the bottom bunk.
Oh, yeah. So the wolf, is the wolf comforting the boy then, like Harper does to you?
Yeah, because it says, a wolf lay down beside me like Harper does, and then it says his wet fur pressed against me. It sounds comfy.
Yeah, and then what's the next line? That's really interesting, right?
Yeah, each of us warmed the other. Like that's probably how they show how they show their friends.
Wolves? How wolves show their friends?
Yeah.
They lay down next to each other during a storm. Maybe they're like in their wolf's den and there's a storm going on. The wolves lie down next to each other. It's interesting
that's what they do.
It's interesting that the wolf seems like it wants a friend too, right? Like the little boy in the story, in the poem, is also keeping the wolf warm.
Yeah. Like it's kind of cool. A Night with the Wolf is like a good name
for a poem.
For a poem, yeah.
Yeah. And then they stayed there all night, didn't they?
Yeah. I bet they were very tired up in the morning.
All right, well, this is a nice little poem, A Night with a Wolf by Bayard Taylor. Would you like to read it for us one more time?
Sure.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
A Night with a Wolf by Bayard Taylor. High up on the lonely mountains, where the wild men watched and waited, wolves in the forest and bears in the bush, and I on my path belated. The rain and the night together came down, and the wind came after, bending the props of the pine tree roof and snapping many a rafter. I crept along in the darkness, stunned and bruised and blinded, crept to a fur with thick-set buffs and a sheltering rock behind it. There from the blowing and raining, crouching, I saw hide me. Something rustled, 2 green eyes shone, and a wolf lay down beside me. His wet fur pressed against me, each of us warmed the other. Each of us felt in the stormy dark that beast and man were brother. And when the falling forest no longer crashed in mourning, each of us went from our hiding place, forth in the wild, wet morning.
Going forth from your hiding place in the wild, wet morning. That's kind of like what you and your brothers do in the morning.
Yeah, sometimes we make a fort and then we sleep in it, and then we read the Lego book in the morning.
We'll talk about poetry right there, the Lego book. Well, this has been the Daily Poem. Thanks so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another poem for you. Can you say bye?
Bye.